Welcome to the Root of Power podcast, where I teach you how to chase your joy, find alignment, and create a life and a business that you love, using actionable methods, interviews, and inspiring stories from people who know that true freedom is found within. I'm your host, your always hype woman and sometimes ass kicker, Amanda Chills, and I am so proud of you for choosing to step into your power. Come along, we've got dreams to build. All right. Hello, Root of Power podcast fam. So I have a story before I introduce Tyler. I was actually really nervous to reach out to you for no reason other than I looked up to you so hard when we were swimming together. Y'all, Tyler and I actually grew up swimming against each other, synchronized swimming, and she was beautiful, beautiful. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not cool. I can't reach out to her. So I finally did. And here we are. So she's living in San Diego, living her best life. She's an embodiment coach, a non-diet dietitian, and certified intuitive eating counselor. She's the founder of Food, Body, and Soul, which, side note, I love that name. She empowers empaths to embody their authentic expression. Oh my God, yes. And guides others home to themselves through intuitive eating, somatic movement, and spiritual wellness, literally food, body, and soul.
Yep, that's right.
Literally. So, hi, how did you even get here? What is this journey known as Tyler in 2022?
Oh my gosh, Amanda. First of all, I want to start by saying I am so glad that you reached out to me and that we were able to hop on this call together, because there's something about Synchronized Swimming sisters that we connect with one another. We can go years without communicating, and yet here we are. And it can be we never skipped a beat, you know?
And I think something interesting about Synchronized Swimming is it gives you such a female empowerment support. I grew up with people being like, women are catty. And I'm like, I literally don't know any women like that. Women have always been quite literally on my team.
Yeah.
But that was such a cool experience.
Yeah. Synchronized swimmers are special people. I think we're all kind of weird in our own way.
Yeah.
Just kind of weirdos, goofy as hell,
There.
The fact that you chose the sport synchronized swimming from a young age tells you a little bit about you, the way that you move through the world, and that you just do things differently.
Fair.
And here you are with purple hair, and here I am doing
living your best life.
Food, body, soul. So yeah.
Okay.
My journey, I grew up as a competitive synchronized swimmer. I thought I was going to go to college for it. But a lot of things were happening in my family. My parents were getting a divorce. My mom was really struggling in her addiction to alcohol. And I decided to stay home in Tallahassee, Florida, and just go to community college so I could take care of my mom, basically. So there was a codependent relationship and sort of this self-abandonment, right? Because I was so focused on others.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of women can relate to this in people pleasing and just, external validation was something we were taught very, very early on, So I'm in community college and I'm like, well, what do I want to do with my life? Because I thought I was gonna go to college for synchronized swimming,
right.
But so I decided, hey, maybe I'll study exercise science because I'm an athlete.
Makes sense.
Let's try that out. And part of that route included me taking a nutrition course. Took the nutrition course, found out you could be a registered dietitian. And of course, we're also told, choose a practical job, something that you'll be able, job security, right? And so I was like, okay, registered dietitian. Yeah. That sounds practical.
That does sound practical.
Yes. And simultaneously, my body was going through a lot of changes, and I was turning to food and exercise as a way to control my life. because everything else in my life was a shit show, for lack of better words. So I thought to myself, oh, I can control my food intake and I can control the exercise that I do.
Yeah.
That gives me some sense of stability.
Yeah.
When in fact, it was the food and the disordered eating that was controlling me. Because
and it allows you to avoid the work. Because you're like, but I am working. I'm going to the gym.
Yes. It's a form of dissociation. It's a form of dissociating to distract ourselves so that we don't have to feel the pain that we're going through.
Ooh, girl. Yes.
Yeah. And so, I transferred to Florida State University. I continued on the path studying nutrition. And then I ended up getting a job at the health promotion department at Florida State University. And I worked under a dietitian who specialized in eating disorders and intuitive eating. And this really saved me. Working for this dietitian, it allowed me to make peace with food in my body. And if it wasn't for that opportunity, I probably would have developed a more serious eating disorder.
Yeah.
So intuitive eating holds a really special place in my heart. And I knew that it was something that I wanted to continue doing. Well, everyone was graduating from Florida State in the nutrition program to enter their internship, because in order to be a dietitian, you have to go through a dietetic internship.
Okay.
So people are graduating, are like applying to their internships. And I just was like, no, I'm going to move to San Diego.
Love it.
And I'm going to become a registered dietitian in California. I don't know how, I don't know when, but that's the plan.
Oh my God. I love that.
It really was a leap of faith. The
best things are.
Yeah. A lot of my life, as I look back, I see that this faith that I have is just it's a common thread in everything that I do. And I'm realizing that that's a gift. Some people, they're more logical, analytical. I've always leaned on the side of intuitive and faith and sort of the unknown and trusting that. So,
right. Like literally you said it. I don't know how, but this is what I'm doing. I love that.
It's like you jump and the net will appear. Very much that sort of attitude.
Yes.
I talk to friends about this because I have friends who like to, I don't want to say play it safe, but they just take a more traditional route to living their life. And it just seems kind of crazy to them. But to me, it just makes sense.
Right. This is your normal.
Yeah. And to those listening, maybe you're hearing it and you're like, yep, me too, girl. Like I live my life flying by the seat of my pants as well.
But it's not necessarily flying by the seat of your pants. Like you figure it out. You just have this belief that you'll figure it out, where I think so many people say, well, I don't know how to do it. And that stops them. And it's like, find someone smarter than you. Yeah. And let them help you figure it out. Like, or everything is figure outable. You wanted to move to San Diego. I did the same thing when I moved to
Marie Forleo. Everything is figure outable.
Everything is figure outable. Yeah. Everything is figure outable. Like,
and experiential learning, I am here for that. Like, just put me into a scenario where I don't know anything about it.
And let me figure out how to swim.
That's when I'm going to learn the most. Like, I could read books and all that, but put me in the action, put me in the experience. And that's when we learn. That's when we really,
I think people forget that. I run into a lot of people who are like, but I don't know enough. And I'm like,
they say, I don't feel ready yet. And the truth is, you're never going to feel ready fully, because fear is part of the human condition. Fear is what keeps us playing small. Fear is what keeps us safe. And it served a purpose, when we were running from saber-toothed tigers back in the day. But now we have safety available to us. Yes, the world is wild and there's some crazy shit going on, but the majority of us are safe.
Or at least have some form of safety.
Correct.
Yeah.
So back to story. So I moved out to San Diego. I started my master's program. And within the first semester of grad school, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm just going to apply to the dietetic internship because I feel like I'm ready. And again, it was an intuitive nudge that Tyler, apply to the dietetic internship. So I talked to admissions at San Diego State, and I was like, hypothetically, if I get accepted into an internship and I have to leave for a year, what happens?
Yeah.
They said, you apply for a leave of absence, you come back and you just pick up where you left off. No big deal. You don't have to reapply or take the GRE again. Amazing. And I was like, okay, thank God. And so I applied to the internships. Now, the majority of dietetic internships are, you have to pay. You have to pay the internship. I didn't have the money for that. I didn't want to take out more loans. So I only applied to internships that were paid, which was less than, I think, 2% of the internships that were available at the time. One of which was a forensic psychiatric hospital. So you're working with the criminally insane, those who were found guilty of crimes by reason of insanity. So we're talking sociopaths, serial killers, that sort of thing.
That is literally fascinating.
Very fascinating.
What?
So that's what I applied to. I ended up getting that internship. I completed my internship at the forensic psychiatric hospital. I learned so much. That is when I really honed in on the fact that I am fascinated by behavioral nutrition. So not just prescribing someone a diet, but really getting to understand the motivation behind someone's behaviors and what gets them to change their behavior, you know? So I came back to grad school with this new sort of outlook.
Worldview,
yeah, this new outlook. And when I got into grad school, I was initially I was working under a professor studying watermelon compounds, particularly L-citrulline, and how it can treat IBS and certain irritable bowel diseases. Neat. And my little brother has Crohn's disease, so that's why I wanted to study like gut microbiome and that sort of thing. But came back, had this new perspective on behavioral nutrition. And so I told my professor, I was like, look, I really want to look at social cognitive theory and nutrition behavior within children. And she was like, I'm fascinated by that. Let's do it. No one on the faculty at the time was doing research on any of this. They were only focused on nutrition science.
Right.
Which is great and so important.
But we have to apply it to real life, which is behavior, which is all behavior.
Exactly. So here I am yet again doing something totally different than what my peers are doing. Yeah. And I presented my manuscript, my thesis, and the faculty members were kind of like scratching their heads being like, this is so interesting. And then the next semester, they ended up hiring 2 faculty members that specialized in behavioral nutrition and public health nutrition. So I don't want to say it was because of me, but I do think
it was because of you. It's fine. We'll just call it.
But perhaps I planted the seed to be like, maybe we need to look at other components of nutrition besides just the science, but also the behavioral science, because that's very important. So
cool.
When I moved to San Diego as well, one of the first departments that I went to at San Diego State was their health promotion department, because at Florida State University, I worked at the health promotion department with a dietitian who specialized in eating disorders and intuitive eating. So I went to their department and I said, hey, do y'all have a dietitian I can work with? This was before I was an RD. They said, no, unfortunately, she left a year ago. We haven't had one since. And I was like, oh, bummer, you know. Fast forward 2 years later, I'm an RD. I'm about to graduate with my master's. A month before I graduate, a position in the department, the Wellbeing and Health Promotion Department at SDSU opens up and I get the job. So life came full circle. Yeah. It was just like the same woman that I had spoke to the years prior was the same one who called me for my interview and all this stuff. So it was
life is so funny when you're doing the right things.
Yes, totally. I get chills talking about it. You just like, we're so supported. We really are. And so I've been working there now for 6.5 years. Also, when I moved out to San Diego, being a synchronized swimmer, I had heard of the LA-based entertainment company called Aqua Lilies, which is professional synchronized swimmers, basically performing different shows, different music videos and TV shows. So I auditioned and I got casted. And now I am a professional synchronized swimmer as well.
Which is like, you were just in Las Vegas. Why do I feel like you were just in Vegas a few months ago?
Yeah, I was in Vegas,
cool.
LA. They're about to fly me to Cancun for a show.
Girl. So cool.
Really exciting stuff, right? Yeah. And so
literally get to live your dream.
I was getting to, it felt very much that way, that I got the best of all the worlds that I wanted to be a part of at that time, and still do. But obviously we evolve, we change. And since I moved out to California, I changed, went through my own growth and evolution. And especially when the pandemic hit and we were working from home, and I was also in the midst of a heartbreak. My partner at the time, who I thought was like the love of my life, just broke up with me out of nowhere, and it completely crushed me. It shattered me, brought me to my knees. I think all of us have those heartbreaks that just really do a number on us. Yeah. And if you are into spirituality and the spiritual path, it's sometimes these dark moments, like a heartbreak or a loss in the family, or any sort of sudden change that comes out of nowhere, this unexpected trauma, if you will, it can catapult us into the dark night of the soul. Dark night of the soul being everything just feels so heavy. All of your trauma, all of your darkness surfaces. And I think also during the pandemic, which was a collective trauma that we all experienced, you're sitting at home by yourself, and anything that you hadn't
or have been trying to avoid
was coming to the surface to be alchemized. And when I say alchemized, I mean transmuted, to be able to take that negative charge and grow from it.
To turn shit into fertilizer.
That's right. Exactly. Yes. And that's essentially what started happening. Is I was like, you know what? I'm going to start my own business, my own coaching practice. I just got my certification to be, I just got my certification to be an intuitive eating counselor. I'm a non-diet dietitian. I already coach students on this stuff. I know I can coach others. Hired my first business coach. Food, Body, and Soul was born. I was only doing intuitive eating at the time. I was dabbling in spirituality because that was where I found peace in my pain that I was going through. And dance and movement have always been a huge part of my life too. I also grew up as a dancer. So dancing in the water, dancing on the land, I'm here for both of it, for all of it. And Food, Body, and Soul started to change as well. It started to shift into not just intuitive eating, but helping women to learn about spiritual wellness and embodiment practices. Because I noticed that it wasn't about the food, and it wasn't about the food for me when I was having, when I had an eating disorder. It was really about this disconnection from our truth, this disconnection.
Thank you for saying that.
From our, disconnection from our authentic self. Because somewhere on our journey, we were told that who we are isn't good enough, or we internalize the belief that we need to fix ourselves in order to be worthy of love and belonging, which couldn't be further from the truth. So many of us walk around relying on that external validation, relying on how others perceive us in order to feel safe. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping others come home to themselves and embody their authentic expression.
Oh my God, I could literally scream. Like I can, it will hurt their ears, but I can literally scream. And that's what I see all the time. Like, and I wonder if that's where a lot of nutritionists or dietitians miss the boat, right? Because they'll give people a nutrition plan and not understand why that person's asking for a nutrition plan, right? Usually we know what to eat. That's not always the problem. But the disconnect from the body, like people who shut down to be accepted, to be safe, to get through life, to whatever, like if you have no roots in yourself, you basically build yourself a prison, because you'll take whatever you think is right from other people and you'll say, well, I'll apply this and I'll apply this. This person, what do I eat in a day? Well, this person eats that in a day. I'm going to eat that in a day. Yeah. This person does this workout. I'm going to do that workout. This person does this job. I'm going to do that job. This person goes to bed at this time. Oh, I'm missing a morning routine. You can't even know if a morning routine is going to work for you if you can't feel good in the moment. But the missing piece isn't a morning routine or a diet or a workout plan. It's people have no roots in themselves because they've shut them down for many reasons.
Yeah.
But that's where food, body, and soul has to come together. If you have no embodiment practice, meaning you cannot exist in your body, you quite literally cannot feel emotions, because emotions are energy in motion. Energy is felt in the body.
Right.
You can't have spiritual wellness because you have, what the hell are you connected to? Not yourself, not source, not God, not universe.
Right.
That all of those stem from a connection, roots within yourself. So like, yes to everything you just said. Like,
I love all of your words, Amanda. You speak the truth with a capital T. I feel that so much. And I truly feel like more folks are starting to wake up to the fact that embodiment, we are in the age of embodiment. The age of information is on its way out.
And it's both, right? Embodiment is information. Both. And information can lead to embodiment. But like, and I say this all the time, the amount of people that I have to give a list of emotions to because they are that cut off. I never thought I would have to do that. So because I'm intuitive, right? You grow up in an artistic sport, you inherently have a connection to your body more so than other people.
Yes.
And so I'd be like, well, how does that feel? And they're just like, literally deer in the headlights. And I'm like,
yeah.
And I was talking about, I was like, oh, like you're literally so cut off that all you can feel is anger. The only thing that gets through when you're that cut off.
Yeah.
So I just give them a list of emotions and I'm like, pick one that feels anywhere near close and we can like work our way backwards. And it makes me so, like people wonder why everyone is so angry these days and everyone is so whatever, like everyone is hurt and they're not sitting in their shit to turn it into fertilizer because they don't know how. And then they're just angry.
Yeah. The interoceptive awareness of our ability to perceive, our internal sensations and,
cannot be overstated. How do you know if you're making a decision that's right for you if you can't feel if it feels good?
Exactly. Exactly.
How do you know?
Yeah.
You don't.
Yeah. I really love reading about our nervous system and how we can heal our nervous system through body healing, through body practices, such as breath work, such as movement, somatics.
Yeah.
Because they talk about, top to bottom approaches, such as cognitive behavioral therapy or talk therapy. Very important. And for many of us, that's how we start. That's how we start because it's easier for us. I know for me on my path, I started with talk therapy and it was a beautiful beginning. And then you hit a wall and you realize that you can understand and intellectualize your issues, your blocks, but it doesn't mean that you're not going to still act out in those same behaviors and patterns because your body is still not integrated. So then what we want to do is we want to combine the top to bottom approaches, such as talk therapy, with the bottom to top approaches, such as somatics. Really juicy.
Oh my God. Yes. And I think, so I have a lot of problems with coaches in the wellness space who do work they're not qualified to do. But one of the beautiful things that I think has come out of the coaching industry is its willingness to try I'm not even going to say new practices, ancient practices, dance,
Right.
rhythm, yoga, like somatic practices. Coaches are much more willing to do it because they don't
they're
have
the weirdos. They're the ones.
They don't have the same bullshit blocks that
Right.
therapists have, where they say, well, I have a master's and they taught us to just talk. Shut
Right.
up. Like, shut up. Deal with the whole person. So I think coaches have
Right.
really forced therapists to look into somatic approaches and to study trauma, how it's rooted in the body. And I think it's pushed everyone to be better.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I love that coaches are like, fuck it, lay in the sand and cry. Like,
that's right.
What you need to do. Like, I had a client.
Get in the ocean, baby.
Right. Let it go. Like, I had a client a few weeks ago. I have a farm and I work with horses. So I work with my horses. And I was like, just go hang out with them. Like, whatever, just go out. Yeah. They'll figure out what you need. It'll come to you. They ended up sobbing in my field with all the horses. And I was like, I mean, they like collapsed sobbing. And I was like,
full body.
Okay. What you needed was to fall to the earth and give it to her. Like, that was what you needed. And the horses were like just chilling, eating. They were like, yeah, I don't know what this is going on, but like, whatever.
Just holding space like a boss, just like horses do.
Oh my God, they're such good space holders. They're just like, how are you? We show up, which is one of the reasons that but people forget, man, like, and therapy is done in a freaking box office and you're on a go. Why do therapy outside under a tree? Like, people forget their connection to their bodies, and it is the missing piece. Like, you can literally only do so much work intellectually before you have to dive. Like, you have to go to the bottom of who you are.
Right. Yes.
And you can only do so much body work. Like, and yoga, like a lot of people enter wellness through yoga, or they enter it through dance, or they, enter it through whatever, like, and that's amazing. And it'll only get you so far. Like, if you're just always missing half the equation if you don't do all three, really, because they matter.
Yeah, they do.
So how do you take people through that journey? Like, how do you marry them in a way that makes sense to a client, right? Because obviously they're searching you to resonate with this message. And then what's like the coolest transformation that you've seen?
Yeah. A lot of my clients, they're women leaders in some capacity, whether they're coaches themselves, they're counselors, they're teachers. I believe all women are leaders on some level,
100%.
And they feel like they're imposters on some level because they don't feel at peace within themselves. They constantly question their worth. They don't feel confident, embodied.
Right.
And that's where the imposter syndrome sort of comes up. So it starts with the food. It starts with their relationship to food and body image. But yet they also understand that it's more than the food. They know that they're basically, they're choosing the food and their body as the entry point to transformation, full mind, body, soul transformation.
Oh my God.
It's not for the faint-hearted. There are some women, they just want the meal plan. They just want, the easy answer. And there are plenty of practitioners out there who can do that for you. I'm not that person.
I love that. I say all the time, this work is not for cowards. Like, you don't get to come to me and be a coward, bitch. We're shoving you off a cliff. Love you though. Love you though. We'll have a net at the bottom, but I'm shoving you off a cliff. Like,
it takes bravery, it takes boldness and a lot of courage, but it's so worth it. It's so worth it. Because on the other side of that is freedom. On the other side of that is freedom.
Oh my God. I'm obsessed with you. What's the coolest thing you've seen happen for clients? Like, take us through a couple of their journeys.
Yeah. So one client in particular, she struggled with food in her body on the surface. And we began to dive into that. And usually how I start is first just acknowledging how culture and society conditions us to disconnect from our body, and how we can turn to food to find some sense of control, and starting to wake up to the patterns, starting to wake up to diet culture, to fat phobia, and beginning to process that, and beginning to create safety and grounding within ourselves. Because as we go through this process, it's of the utmost importance that we ground and that we create safety within ourselves. So we start off with meditation practices, breathwork exercises. We meet every week, so they have that support. And then we begin to dive into some of the inner child healing, because a lot of this stuff happened from a young age. It happened, for some women, it's their adolescence, seeing their mom diet all the time, or seeing their peers talk about dieting, or maybe they grew up in a body type that wasn't accepted by society. So they internalized the belief, they were bullied. They thought, I'm not worthy. I got to fix myself. Yeah. So really, we're holding space for that inner child to be able to feel, and reparenting ourselves around certain things that happened around food in our body.
Yes, ma'am.
And then, of course, this opens up the conversation of, because at the root of all of it is low self-worth, is this fear of not being lovable.
Yeah.
And so we really identify that and begin to work with that. And then I incorporate dance and movement.
Yes.
For this particular client, I actually created a playlist for her.
Amazing.
Music is very dear to my heart. It's sacred. And when clients also resonate with music on a profound level, I will create certain playlists that are specific for them, that I've just intuited that you need to listen to this.
Yeah.
And so, I named it, her name, Self-Love Revolution. And she's just it was a huge support for her, and a great way for her to release energy too, when she was feeling stuck and getting caught up in the past stories. Yeah. Because I think for a lot of us, when we're going through growth and transformation, what we know from the past, it wants to keep us in the past, because that's what we know. Our ego likes to do that.
And because it worked at one time. Those stories protected you, kept you safe. And so I call it gremlin brain. So your gremlin brain is bitch, we ain't getting rid of this. It kept us alive.
Exactly.
Again. And then it's okay, but we don't need it anymore. Gremlin brain, let's put it in a folder. If we need it again, we'll pull it out, but we don't need it right now. And then the gremlin brain is no.
Yeah. And holding space for all of it, right? We get to hold space for our gremlin brain, and also for that woman that we're stepping into, because they are all parts of us. So it's not about getting rid of the inner critic, or the gremlin brain, as you call it. I call it the inner critic. But,
gremlin brain fits a lot of things. So
I love that too. It's we get to hold space for all of it. And Rumi, the Sufi poet, he has a poem called "This Being Human is a Guest House." And I just love it so much, because he writes, joy, sorrow, pain, sadness, happiness. Invite them all in. Invite them in for tea. Welcome them all.
Yeah.
And I obviously don't remember verbatim how the poem went, but the gist is that we hold space for all parts of this human experience, because we are human, and we will experience the whole spectrum of human emotion.
Yeah.
And
or we experience nothing.
And so how can we hold space for it and feel confident that we can hold space for ourselves in that? Becoming the witness of our story, becoming the witness of our experience, the loving, compassionate witness. So obviously mindfulness plays a huge role in the work that I do. That's where the spiritual wellness comes in. And what ended up happening with this client is she woke up to the fact that she was not sexually attracted to men. She has always kind of been sexually attracted to women, as well as emotionally attracted to women. So she actually came out being lesbian, being
Yeah.
interested in women. And now she's in this amazing partnership. She's so happy.
I love
She's
that.
fully embodied. She's just radiating joy and radiating her truth with a capital T. And that to me is success. That to me is like, yep, that's 100%. Why we do this work.
And you know what's funny? I love that you talk about that Rumi quote. First of all, if y'all don't know who Rumi is, please go buy a book of poems by Rumi. He's fabulous. 2, what happens when we just allow it to be an open door and whatever comes and it's all good and it's all okay. And we don't hold on to any of them. And we don't run away from any of them. What I find is people actually sit in joy. Like people who allow everything tend to be quite happy. People who run from unpleasant emotions are miserable. So it's like counterintuitive to say, well, if I allow myself to be sad, then I'll be happy. But if I never allow myself to be sad, then I'll be sad. Well, usually what they are is angry. Because again, that's the one that tends to get across the wall. But it's so counterintuitive to say, let it all come. When you're sad, be devastated, be hurt, be whatever you are, be happy, laugh out loud. Like when you're angry, be good and fucking angry. And then when it's ready to go, tell it to leave the door open. And people just sit in happy. And I tell people, like, you wouldn't try and catch the waves of the ocean, right? You wouldn't be like, hey, ocean, no more waves now. I'm going to hold on to this one. And you wouldn't build you just can't do that. You have to allow everything to come or nothing to come. Yeah. You may as well swim in the ocean in the meantime. Like just let it be an open door. And it's so counterintuitive. And everyone is like very confused when I first teach them that. And then they experience it and they're like, oh, like I was sad, but it was okay. Like I was sad and then it went away and now I'm good again. And I'm like, humans, if we let ourselves, and I tell people all the time, like your body's smarter than you. It's going to re-regulate. If you're sad, be sad. You'll re-regulate. If you need to have a panic attack, have one. You'll re-regulate. It'll be okay. And that's such an embodiment practice. And I God, I just love that you do that with people because people think they can like, well, if I understand my emotion, then it'll go away. It's like, cool. That's half of it. Yeah. We also have to feel it, friends.
Feel, deal, and heal.
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
Feel, deal, heal.
Ooh, I never heard that.
That's
before.
Actually, I can't take credit for that. That is by an amazing therapist. Her name is Tiffany. Oh my gosh, what is her full name? She is the founder of Therapy is Cool. And I just could not recommend her enough. Tiffany Rowe. That is her trademark saying, feel, deal, heal.
So, I love that. Yeah, deal with it. You're sad, deal with it. You're happy, deal with it.
We got this.
Oh my gosh, I love that. What's your, so people work with you and they do these 3 things. What are some of your favorite practices that people are like, yo, Tyler is like the tits. She's speaking my language. We love this. What can people start doing if they are like, I don't know what the hell embodiment is. What am I supposed to do? Dance in my underwear every Sunday? Like, what can people do to get started?
I think to start, it doesn't mean you have to break out and dance, but I would encourage someone to drop out of the mind and into the body. And how you can start doing this is by when you wake up in the morning, when you're brushing your teeth, when you're in the shower, just pay attention to how your body feels. Because when we wake up in the morning, a lot of us, first thing we do, we look at our phone, our mind starts going and we start living from here. But I encourage you within that first 30 minutes of waking up, don't look at your phone. Don't look at your phone. Turn it into do not disturb mode until, you go to work or whatever your schedule is like. And just as you get out of bed, pay attention to how your feet land on the ground. While you're in the shower, notice how when the water hits you, how does it feel? Notice any emotions. For me, I have always been a vivid dreamer. I'm a Pisces rising, Scorpio moon. There's a lot of water in my astrological chart. So I dream a lot. And sometimes I'll wake up and depending on the dream, it'll affect my mood. Have you ever had that happen to you?
So I'm kind of the opposite. I don't remember dreams very often.
Okay. Yeah. I tend to remember mine and they tend to be very vivid. So when I wake up, I'm like, all right, we gotta, shake this off and kind of work with it. And perhaps that's not someone else's story, but either way, you begin to notice, oh, what sensations am I feeling in my body right now? When I feel joy, where do I feel that in my body? Maybe it's in my heart center. Maybe it's in my solar plexus, like my stomach region.
So just the practice of asking, like, scared. How am I feeling?
Yes. Starting the practice of asking, how am I feeling? And then tying it to the body.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
How many times?
And I think so many.
Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think so many of us begin to create stories about our emotions too, and that blocks us from really feeling them.
Yeah.
So if you have a feeling and your mind wants to start creating a story of where that's coming from, pause. The power is in the pause. I always say that to my clients as well. Just sit with the emotion. Don't create a story around it. Just become the witness of it. Become the witness to the experience of how you're moving through it. Because this too shall pass. Emotions are simply visitors passing through. So let them pass through and become curious. Bring a compassionate curiosity to the experience.
I am literally obsessed with you. Everything you say is so good. It's like it's all oh my God. I wonder, and I would be willing to bet you run into this because I do. And I'd be willing to bet people who are new to this practice will run into this, and they'll ask themselves, and I'll ask them, oh, how do you feel? Well, I think I'm blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I don't give a shit what you think. I asked how you felt. Or I'll be like, how do you feel? And they'll give me like not an emotion feeling.
Right.
I feel busy.
I feel fat. I'll get that one a lot.
I feel fat. That's not an emotion, but thank you.
That isn't an emotion.
Right.
Yeah.
That practice is so good. So people can just start asking themselves, like, how do I feel? And then tie it to a sensation in their body. And it's funny, as you were talking, I was thinking how funny it is that even like the English language partners in like a physical action with a feeling, sit in it, move through it. There was one that was in my brain and now I forgot it, but like our language partners them and we forget, put it down, right? That's an action. Dance it out, like whatever. I'm sure there's other ones. Yeah.
Move the energy. Yeah.
Move the energy.
Dance helps to interrupt anxiety and our thoughts. So that's why I also love to use dance and movement. Like spontaneous movement helps to interrupt anxiety. And you don't have to be a professional dancer or synchronized swimmer to do that. Something I'm actually really looking forward to is something I want to start doing in the community is holding embodiment workshops in person where we get to focus on the somatics. It's not about the performance, because trust me, I get the pressure to perform, and I know you do too because of your background, but it's not about performance. It's about the experience and the somatics of it all. So that's what's next for me.
That is so cool.
Yeah.
Amazing. How do people find you if they're like, oh my God, Tyler? Yes.
Yeah.
How do people find you?
Well, I am on Instagram. That's probably where I'm at the most. So you can find me at Tyler.rolling, like the Rolling Stones, .rd. And then I'm also on Facebook at Tyler Elizabeth. My middle name's Elizabeth. And then I have a Facebook group, Food, Body, and Soul. You can search that and request to join. And my website, of course, tylerrollingrd.com.
Love. How's your business going? Because it's only a couple years old, right?
Yeah, it's only a couple years and it's going really well. I'm really excited about this year because I'm really stepping into the holistic approach versus just focusing on intuitive eating. So really bringing it full circle, food, body, and soul. And I just can't wait to
Which is really,
what
I
happens
think, like,
with all of that.
I mean, heck, this interview is any indication, like that is where you are going to create so many ripples.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God, I love this.
It's exciting.
I just love it. I love it. Anything that we didn't cover that you hoped we would?
I feel like this was such a delicious conversation and so inspiring and energizing. And I feel like we touched all the bases. Yeah. Yeah. I'm like, I got to go move this energy. I'm so excited right now.
Tell everyone.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I love that you are doing this. I love that I'm just like, yes. Because the more people integrate those three things, like it's so simple when you pull those three levers. Like it is so simple to just be happy and to like for you and, you know, as the coach in the scenario, as a therapist in the scenario, like it is so crazy to watch people when they first come in and when they leave, it's literally like two different people. But I'm like, this was you the whole time. That's underneath all this shit. Like, and it's them the whole time. And it's so freaking cool to watch.
It is.
It was so cool to watch. Oh my God. Tell us how to find you again. One more time for their ear.
Yeah, one more time. So you can find me on Instagram at tyler.rolling.rd. You can also check me out on my website, tylerrollingrd.com, or find me on Facebook at Tyler Elizabeth.
Amazing. Now, if people forget everything we just said, they're like, I have podcast amnesia, Amanda and Tyler, and they only hear this next thing that you say. What would it be?
It would be that you are not a problem that needs to be fixed, that you are already whole and complete. We're just simply peeling back the layers of that which was never yours to begin with so that you can remember who you are and come home to yourself. Yeah.
Okay, we're ending on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a wrap. Bless up.
I am
Thank you.
No, literally, thank you.